Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are broadcasting from the Thomas K. McKeon Center for Creativity, and I'm your host, Corey D. Taylor. My guest today is a young filmmaker, but also in his youth, he's already won an Emmy as well as been to Cannes Film Festival. He is none other than Booney Tomlinson. If you want to know what it takes to make it to the next level and get respect of your peers in the film industry, well, you come to the right place, so stay tuned because this is Up Close with Corey Taylor. Hello and welcome back, and we're here with director as well as filmmaker, also, and he's won the Emmy, Booney Tomlinson.
How are you doing, Corey?
Man? Doing good.
Thank you for having me on.
Man, no problem, man. So I always ask my guests this: what have you been up to, man?
Corey, I have been very busy. I am currently working on my next documentary called Our Home. It's my new feature documentary that we're currently in post. I'm finishing my last semester of college at Santa Fe University of Art and Design. So I live in New Mexico right now. So I'm trying to balance college and my filmmaking career and running my business, One Sweat Media.
Wow, man. So look, ever since I've been knowing you about 4 years now, and,
Yeah.
and I was asking you this off camera. I was like, how old are you? And I want our viewers to know that, you've been wanting to be a filmmaker for a long time, but you've been doing that. It hasn't been like this thing that you did. And you've been making films since high school. And when I came in contact with you, the person that said, hey, you should work with this guy because he's got even some people from Hollywood that have been interested in his work. And that's when I came in contact with you. But that was about 4 years old. So you're about 4 years ago. So you're about 20, and you still have been going on making films. So what drives you to continue to do this? Because so many times people just kind of give up, but you still keep going strong.
Filmmaking started because it used to be a way for me to learn how to interact with people. Back in middle school and stuff, I didn't know how to interact with kids, probably someone's language barrier because I'm from Romania. And also, I just didn't know how to interact with people. I was kind of self-centered. But I started making these video skits for class, and filmmaking kind of gave me a way to connect with people. So I used filmmaking at first as a way to make friends and build relationships with people. But then it turned into the love of it. Filmmaking is a way to tell what you're feeling, what you're wanting to persuade to the audience. And so I now use filmmaking as a way to tell a story, to get the message out there. And I love it. It's creative. Every day is an adventure. My life is. I live my life unpredictably. I don't want to be behind a desk or have a set routine. I like to know I don't like to know what's going to happen the next day.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So for you, filmmaking became very cathartic. It was a way for you to communicate. Now, I want to go back because you said you're from Romania, but you have a very interesting story, and I don't want to spoil it for the viewers, but I want you to tell your story because I think people will find your story very interesting.
So I was adopted from Romania. I lived in the orphanage for the first 6 years of my life. So my mother abandoned me at the hospital, so the only option was to go to a state-run orphanage. And so I lived there for 6 years, which was not a very good condition. I lived in an orphanage where you had 100 kids and only like 2 caretakers. So right there already started developing a lot of development issues. I was falling behind on the normal development as maybe a 2 or 3 year old would normally develop. We were always kind of like locked up inside a lot. We didn't get to go out and do a lot of stuff. We didn't have education. We were fed well and we were taken care of, but not to the standard that a kid should be taken care of. Also, I've dealt with some abuse in there. So coming in an orphanage and being adopted at age 6, I was way behind in everything. So coming at 6, I was only like a baby. I was probably acting like and talking like maybe like a 2 or 3 or level. So at 6 years old, my parents had to basically get me caught up to everybody else. So I started pre-K immediately a week later when I got here into the States. And I did pre-K for a full year. And then the second semester I started doing half and half, and then the following year I did full kindergarten. So I did first year of school, I did half pre-K and half kindergarten, just try to get caught up. And then the following year I did full kindergarten, and then that's how I started.
So when you say you were adopted, your parents are from Oklahoma, and they came and how did that happen? How did they get to you?
So my mother's a veterinarian, had a client that ran an adoption agency, a nonprofit organization, and my mom couldn't have kids. And my parents, of course, were a little older, and they've always wanted a kid. I have a stepbrother that's older than me. That's my dad's son, but my mom wanted to have a kid. So, and they've always wanted to adopt. And so she contacted Bob Harper. She sent over a cameraman over to Romania to film me. So at age 5, which I do remember, at age 5, a cameraman came to my orphanage and filmed me. I did different activities. They shipped the tape back to my parents. My parents watched the tape, to determine if I was the right fit for them. And I was. They were like, "That's our son."
So what made them pick you out of all? You were like it's 100 kids in the orphanage. What made them pick you out of all of the other kids? What was that led them to you?
I think the drive. I was a very energetic kid in the orphanage. Even in the orphanage, the caretakers figured that I had maybe potential, like hope, and maybe I'll have success. So my parents just lied. I mean, I was a very lively kid. Even with the situation I was in, I was definitely very positive. I had a lot of full of energy, excitement. I definitely had a lot of like temperaments and attitude issues, but also my parents just felt like that was the right one. Maybe God told them that was the right one. I don't know, but it was when they first saw me, they were like, "That's our son."
Well, and here you are, but I understand too that, you've had the opportunity, not only are you an Emmy Award-winning director from winning the Heartland Emmys, but you actually had the opportunity to go to Cannes.
Yes.
Because you created a documentary about your journey from the orphanage to America. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Started out as a school project at my community college. Refused to do the project, not because I was not afraid to tell my story, it's just I didn't know where to begin. That's a lot of materials, and also I was a little afraid that it would sound like if I'll make it too narcissistic about myself. But I needed to create a message that can relate to others. So my teacher basically said, "You got to do it, or you're going to fail the class." And so I go, "All right, I'll do it." But after doing a first cut of it just for class, I decided I wanted to redo it again, make it better. So I learned that one way, instead of me interviewing my parents and interviewing myself, I brought in a person who didn't know my story, a person who I wanted to basically play as the role as an audience member who doesn't know anything about me, to ask the questions to my parents, to be able to help my parents answer the questions what an audience would think. So and maybe relate to them more. So so I reshot it. Took us about 6 months to shoot in post-production. And I had no idea where this film was going to take, and I was very surprised how well it did. I mean, we're still doing festival circuit even next year, so we're still doing some festivals. But to get accepted into Cannes, I was just shocked. That's the elite. That's where the best of the best go.
Correct.
And to be able to be accepted, it was an honor. And what was cool about it is the reason I got accepted was because there were a theme of orphans in that category. So my film fit best in that category.
And so how did it do? Like, what was the response to your film at Cannes?
Very well received. We didn't win any awards, but the award is just going to Cannes. But it was really well received. And I think what was the best part that I liked about Cannes is I got to really connect with a lot of Romanian filmmakers. They had a Romanian tent, have those international tents,
right,
and have all these film commissions. Well, I got to get in touch with a lot of Romanian filmmakers, and I think that was probably the best part I liked about it, was just connecting with some people and learning more about my heritage. And so, and I actually just got back from Romania in November. I was in Romania doing a speaking event for a conference over there. But I got to really connect with some Romanian producers, hung out with a film producer over there. So it's really cool that this film has led me back to my country. And I want to continue to make films in Romania to learn about my heritage and let other people know about how great my country is.
Now, when you were adopted, and of course you were, you were like 6. Did you have a sense that this was going on, that you were being adopted? Were you aware of that, or And then what was that like for you to be taken from Romania to come to the U.S.? What do you remember any of your feelings about that stuff?
Definitely was scared. I think just I was used to a certain routine in the orphanage, and then all of a sudden, you're in a plane, a big plane, and you're being, you're going to doctors, you're going to this, you got to go do this. It's just very overwhelming for a 6-year-old. And I was excited. Also, I did know that they told me that I was going to be adopted. So I definitely remember that I knew that I didn't have a mom and a dad. So when they told me, I was definitely very excited that I was going to be leaving. But at the same time, it was just very scary because you live 6 years cooped up in a room and cooped up with all these kids, and all of a sudden you're being taken away. I didn't when I came to the States, I didn't know how to play with toys. I didn't know how to interact with different things. I was definitely a very lively and happy person, but you're basically ripped away from a thing that you've lived for 6 years, and all of a sudden you're going to start this lifestyle now. So it was definitely overwhelming.
So when you were going through all of this, and your parents adopted you, and now you're coming to this new thing, I know that had to be traumatic, because I deal with foster care now, and I've helped kids go and get adopted and things of that nature. But it's always this surprising element. And I want to say this for our viewers, because just like when they picked you up in the orphanage, they saw your liveliness and everything. The thing that I've noticed about every kid that has come through the foster care system that my wife and I have ever taken care of, all of those kids have a level of potential to go on and do amazing things. And so I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because of the background and things of that nature. But sometimes, like you said, you have some anger issues and temperamental issues, but you have to help them get past that to tap into that gifting that they had. And that's what it sounds like your parents did for you.
Yeah, my parents has always pushed me and motivated me to do whatever I wanted to do. I mean, before I got into filmmaking, I used to want to be a pilot. I used to want to be an architect. So I always, even as a little kid, I've always been fascinated with adulthood. I always wanted to be an adult. I guess you could say, I definitely never I never had just a childhood lifestyle. Like play Pokemon or video games. I always wanted to do a grown-up state, just because I was always fascinated with that, which I think that allowed me to mature quicker and allowed me to understand why I do well in my business, is because I followed my parents' leads. And as a kid, I always hung out around because I didn't know how to interact with kids very well because of language and different things. I always were around my parents a lot, so I just kind of lived up to their lifestyle and they were my role models. So it was I think the motivation just came by my parents were motivating their careers, and they always were driven for success, and they always pushed me. Even in my filmmaking career still today, my parents sometimes would say, "Bruno, why are you doing this? This is so stupid. Why are you doing that? You're going to end up failing if you do that." But why they do that is because they want to motivate me. They want me to aim high. And I think a lot of kids, they don't get that because, the parents say, you need to become a doctor. You need to go do this. I think if you just motivate them and help them, even if they change their career or decision, you need to support them in every way you can, because if you don't, your kids are going to fall back.
So let's talk about this. You won the Heartland Emmys for directing the documentary Boomtown.
Yes.
How did that all come about?
Very funny story. I worked on a reality show, and there was a production assistant student that somehow knew Russ Kirkpatrick, and he got me connected with Russ. So if I didn't work on the reality show, I might have never met Russ. But Russ and I had a couple meetings, and Russ told me about this project, gave me the budget, and I basically wrote him a proposal for it, and basically did kind of an interview rounds with him. I had a couple interview rounds with him. He wanted to find the best director, and I got the job. And so what an accomplishment. I was, I think I was only like 21. And
Right.
so, So yeah, so 21, 22. I was honored that to be able to do it. First off, we just started doing it as more of a promotional piece for the Tulsa Historic Society, but we were just collecting all these great interviews. I told Russ, and we all were talking like, what if we did a documentary on this about Tulsa? I know there've been documentaries about Tulsa before, but this is, there haven't been one made in a while, and I think we can edge it up and make it relate to a younger audience. And so a few months later, we got back together again and got more budget, and we decided to do a full-length documentary. And it was awesome because we also got the Tulsa orchestra involved, and it was really cool because they composed our music. And but it was great because I didn't know anything about Tulsa, and I really haven't done a lot of documentaries because I was mostly doing narrative filmmaking. But Russ wanted me to. One reason why Russ liked me was because we did some reenactments, and he wanted a director that could do, direct actors. And so it was a great experience because I also got to learn the documentary process, which I've really never done before. But that allowed me to, from that experience, allowed me to make Booney, the Boy from Constanza, and now this new feature-length documentary that I'm in post right now. So it was a great learning process, and it was also just a great experience.
Cool beans, cool beans. Because I know, you worked with me on some stuff that we
Yes.
were doing for Leona Mitchell, a documentary, and I know when I first got a hold of you. You were a narrative filmmaker, and I was like, okay, like, I remember explaining like documentary making was different than narrative filmmaking, and I remember that. And then like shortly after that, I remember hearing about you working with Russ and to do Boomtown. So it's amazing how when people think about documentaries, though, they don't really understand the brevity or the compelling stories that they can do with documentaries. Because, and to be fair, a lot of times documentaries have always been looked at from a journalistic aspect versus a filmmaker, entertainment, and excitement filmmaking project. And now that's what you have understood. And for me, it went back to when I did the Wayman Tisdale story. And I was able to see the interesting aspects of the Wayman Tisdale story that made it fun and made it exciting. And so now here it is, you've done Boomtown, you did Boy from Kazakhstan, and now you're getting ready to do this other documentary project. So are you going to do more documentaries, or are you, when you finish school, going to lean more to narrative filmmaking?
That's a decision I've been definitely thinking about, and I think I'm going to do more documentaries. I'm not going to turn away from doing feature narratives. I'm actually working on one right now, developing a script with my father. My father and I are going to be doing my dad is writing a story, and I'm helping him with the screenwriting process, but I'm going to make a feature narrative. So no, I'm not going to steer away from that because I do love the narrative. But the reason why I like doing documentaries is because I like telling human interest stories. It's a way to captivate a human, to be able to connect to a human. And sometimes with narrative, you don't always get that because you end up getting bad actors or good, and sometimes it's not real. And I'm always about what's realistic, what's gonna move me. And documentaries do that. And I want to be able to tell stories about people, about their lives, and what's unique about them. And so I'm definitely going to continue that. I have a niche for it. I have a drive for it. And so, this new documentary called Our Home, it's about these women who, back in like the 50s and 60s, they all dealt with abuse, and they all went to this children's home called in Ponca City. And so now they're in their like 60s and early 70s, and a lot of them have dealt with a lot of traumatic issues. And so now we're basically capturing this reunion event that they're all getting together, and we're basically just interviewing them and talking about what they struggled and where they are today, and basically just kind of show that what these women went through and how successful they are today. It's kind of a motivational piece, but we're capturing every person's personal life and their personal story, and that's what I love about it.
That's awesome. So now, when you're out here making films, and I understand that you've got the Emmy, you're still in school. So many people just feel like they don't, they could pick up a camera and they can go and do. What makes you continue to go to school when clearly you've already had success without even finishing school? So why keep going?
A lot of people tell me, why are you in film school? You could go so farther. The reason I went to film school is because I wanted to build relationships with people closer to my age. Being in the film industry, most of the people are older than me. I'm 24, but most people I work with are in their 30s or above. But I wanted to find new talent. But also, I think part of it is my parents. They wanted their son to graduate and get a degree. And for me, school is not more just to continue my education and learn more. It's more just to build relationship with people, which I have. Going to Santa Fe University Art and Design, I'm able to meet students who have a lot of talent and a lot of experience, and it's cool to be able to relate to them and collaborate on their projects. They collaborate with mine because we are the next generation of filmmakers, and it's a benefit to be able to find those people because it's hard to find that here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and you're so right when you say that, because a lot of times the whole filmmaking environment here
Yes.
in Oklahoma, it is hard. And most people that are filmmakers in Oklahoma, they usually go into commercials. Shooting commercials, shooting little industrial films, things of that nature. But I always tell people, and then a lot of people told me this. They're like, "Yo, well, the industry is growing here," and I believe it is growing. We are starting to get more movies.
Yes.
We have a great incentive program.
Yes.
Tava Sofsky and her staff up there, they are doing a real good job to try to bring more film making to Oklahoma. Abby Kearns, who was here in Tulsa with the Chamber, they're trying to do more to educate the public about filmmaking. I can remember Ann O'Shea was sitting in the same position you were sitting in when she was here on this show, and she said something, and Ann has been gone from Oklahoma for years, but she's a Golden Globe winner. She's an Oscar-nominated producer. She does documentaries. She does features. She does theater. But I can remember her sitting here and saying that when she left, Oklahoma had no semblance of filmmaking or anything. And she said one of the things she was happy about was being able to come back and seeing that there is a film community
Yes.
developing. There is a the music scene has always kind of been here, but the film aspect. Now, the one thing that I would say is, we got film growing here, but it's still not TV. It's only news. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And that's what I love about doing this show, is that you're able to be a pioneer and add different elements, because a lot of times, that's it. It's one thing in Oklahoma, it's not another thing. But I'm glad that the film community is going. So when you get ready to graduate, what's the next step for Booney?
That's something I'm trying to decide. I think I'm definitely, looking for jobs because I think realistically I have to have some consistent income. It's hard being a freelancer. I'm running Windswept, but we have slow months, we have good months, but I need to find something that's consistent. So I'm definitely want to move to a bigger city. I'm looking in Los Angeles. I have a really good friend that I want to move out with. And try to see, kind of live the LA experience. Realistically, I just want to move to a bigger city where there's more people, more diversity. It doesn't have to be a city that has like television or strong film industry. I just want to be able to, because being in a bigger city, you have a lot more people to connect with and a lot more story ideas. And so, Oklahoma is amazing because of the people here are so supportive and people are willing to help each other. And for the people that, if I didn't live in Oklahoma and if I lived in a bigger city, I don't know if I would be where I am today, because the people here are willing to help others. And so I'd give credit to that. And I want to continue making films in Oklahoma because it's definitely the incentives. It's cheaper to make projects here. And people are more willing to give locations and stuff, which is amazing because you can't get that when you're in a bigger city.
Exactly.
And so there's definitely a lot of great benefits that I want to continue to making films, but I do need to go where there's a bigger
bigger market.
Yep.
Yeah, and I struggle with the same things because Oklahoma definitely has given me my start in film.
Absolutely.
And everything I've done from acting and then doing film. And I've always branched off and had agents in Texas, Kansas City, and things of that nature. But I always find myself coming back to Oklahoma,
Yes.
and then this show would not be possible probably somewhere else. But there does come this sense, since you talked about diversity, that you want to go somewhere where there is a lot of more diversity, so that you can have more subject matter.
Yes.
You know, and connect with different people that want to bring different things to the table, because America is rapidly changing, and it's not just one culture anymore. It's so many cultures, and you yourself knowing now, you know, embracing more of your Romanian roots and things
Yep.
of that nature. Like, there's a lot to be said from other cultures instead of one culture. And so now when you say you're getting ready to look for a job, is it going to be a job in film per se, or are you just trying to find a job to supplement your income?
It would be a job in the industry, probably a job in with an advertising agency or something that's with a production house. Now, I do want to find something that has a good, something that's a high position role, not more of an entry level. But wherever we all have to work our way up, so I'm willing to do whatever. But I think just so if I was to do that, that'll allow me to kind of get experience in how they do things. Especially if I work with like a big advertising agency that does like commercials like Nike or something, that allows me to kind of see how they pursue content creation and how they pursue those clients. And that will allow me to maybe, because I always want to run my own business. I'm an entrepreneur myself. Wind Sweat Media is my business. But I do need to learn, kind of learn from experts on how they do things. So it allows me as a business owner to improve my company, because we're not perfect, and I do need to get that experience, but also building relationships. I think the key thing in the film industry is about relationships, and it's great that you can build relationships in the corporate world, but if I was to work in the film industry or work for big advertising agencies, you have a lot more full potential and different, even in the advertising, they relate to advertising through the movies, through television, so you get that experience.
Okay, this show, and man, that's some great stuff, but this show is all about helping people to know what it would take for them to go on and be successful. Yes. In about 10 seconds, what would you say it takes for a person to become successful?
Have a positive attitude. Don't ever doubt yourself, and live life unpredictably.
All right, Booney, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much,
Look
Corey.
forward to talking to you
Appreciate
soon.
it. Yes.
I hope you've enjoyed our show today. I would like to thank my guest, Booney Tomlinson, for joining us. Think about this. Change is inevitable, but your attitude towards that change, it is always optional. Until next time, keep looking forward.